Hello and welcome to another Division video. In this video, yes, today is the day where I will present you my decent Tactician build I'm using for my legendary solo runs. I got a lot of requests to show my build. For my previous video I uploaded the speedrun on Wargate on the last global event, and of course I will do this for you. Just as a quick explanation in advance, I didn't do a video before the global event was over because, yeah, let's be honest, with the ambush modifier active, almost every gear set was pretty OP, and the Tactician build of course as well. That's why I thought to myself, let's do a couple test runs after the event to really give you a reliable recommendation how you can run this setup to have a lot of success in the content of the division. That's the first thing. And the second thing, I decided as well that I will do another all-in-one video where you will find all the explanations to the stats and settings I'm using, like the same as my previous video, but because the sound quality was not too good on the last one, I decided to do it again. But don't worry, you will find timestamps in the description down below the video, so you don't have to watch the whole thing again if you have already the previous version, if you watched already the previous version, because I start at the beginning with the changes and the new classified gear pieces and the options you have to run this. And yeah, please don't forget, if this video is useful for you, to leave a like down below, give a thumbs up. It helps me a lot and I do really appreciate it. It would be great if we achieved 200 or even 300 likes on this video. That would be awesome. And of course, leave a comment down below. Tell me which setup you like to run on this build. And as usual, I try always to answer all my comments. And yes, this video will have 5 topics. As I said before, the first one will be the changes, the new classified version. Then the second one, you will see the gear I'm using, my preferred setup. And the third topic is the mods you can use on the gear. Fourth one, the weapon and weapon talents. And the last one, the fifth one, is the abilities, the skills and talents I recommend to run with this build. And to say this right at the beginning again, there is no single video out there or no setup out there that suits every playstyle, so I do really recommend you test the things out for yourself and see what works for you. Not everyone has the same playstyle, so not every build works for everyone the same way. Really test out every time the setups for yourself and choose what works for you. But for now, let's get right into this. So as I said before, let's start with the new classified version of the Tactician set, which you see here. And yes, you see it already, it's not my preferred version. There is no mods and I haven't re-rolled this chest, but of course I will not destroy it. Probably if they change something on the 6-piece bonus, yes, I can say this as well. 6-piece Tactician is not worth using in my opinion. There I have the same opinion as I think almost every other YouTuber that put already a build video out. 6-piece bonus is pretty, not useful in practice if you're in the live game, not for PvE and not for PvE in my opinion. But let's go quickly over the stats. I think the first one you know already, 2, 3, 4-piece bonus. The 4-piece bonus I mentioned or discussed already in my previous video, so if this would be interesting for you, then please just check out my last video where you'll find the explanations to this. So the main thing that I've changed, you don't get the stacks from your teammates, you have to stack up the Tactician for yourself. With your weapon you have to land 30 bullets and you get 30% increased skill power, or with your turret, pulse turret, but then you will just get 0.2% each hit, which means 150 hits to get 150 stacks. But of course the turret hits every shot, so this is not that slow to achieve. And yeah, then 5-piece bonus is 5% skill haste and 5 skill power, which means in total 20 skill haste and 15 skill power with the 2 and 3-piece bonus of this gear set. It's not too bad, but not too good in my opinion. I'll discuss this later when I present you the different versions you can run with this build. There are about 5 in my opinion, which I present you after this part here. And the 6-piece, it's a little bit complicated in my opinion, too complicated and not useful, as I said before. Yes, you have a chance to increase the stats the stacks to 60%. And if you have more than 9k electronics, which you have almost all the time with the Tactician build, then you have a 100% chance to not use or not go down to 0 if you use the skills one after each other. So you can't use all the same skill on and on. If you would like to benefit from this one here, you have to interrogate between these two. I'll show it to you later after this one here. And this, as I said, is a little bit complicated. You can read the text now if you want, but I'll present it to you quickly. So just change quickly my skills that are a little bit better to present this with the lowest cooldowns here. And yeah, as you know, you can stack up Tactician up to 30% the first time by yourself, 1% for each shot. Then you can use a skill, doesn't matter which one it is, and the skill increased. With this skill you have increased stats, of course. And now you see it's back to 0, but if I start stacking again right now, then you will see I can stack up to 60. So now I do have 60% increased skill power on my gear set with the 6-piece bonus. Sounds really good. Yeah, of course it's kinda good, but always have in mind that the skill haste cap, the soft cap, is about 450k. So if you go above, you don't benefit that much from it. And you saw now already on my skill on the right one, the defib, this is a right sign around the skill, and this means this skill you have to use the next time to benefit from the 6-piece bonus. So if I use this now, then I go back to 30 stacks and I can stack up again to 60 if I want. But then one disadvantage is this here: if you don't stack up to 60 and if you use the skill now, then what you will see is you don't go back to 30, you go back to 0. So you can start all over again, which means 30 stacks now using skill, 60 stacks now, and on and on and on. So in practice, even PvP or PvE, in my opinion, it's not really useful, this 6-piece bonus. That's why I do not recommend to run this. But let's go ahead and I'll present you the settings you can choose to run this build. Let's turn around, baby. So look in the camera, and yeah, I show you the setup I use for myself first. This is my preferred version with 5-piece classified Tactician with Barrett's chest. And the reason for this, I present you first the other options you have before I talk quickly about the advantages and disadvantages of the different setups. And as I said before, it depends always on your playstyle which setup you should use. So this is one setup for you, and yeah, that's a good thing for you if you were not that lucky in the last global event to get all gear pieces. You just need 4 Tactician, the 4 in the bottom here, the knees, the holster, gloves and mask, to have a decent build. This is one setup. Then the second setup, of course, the classic one like in my previous video, is this one here with inventive backpack. You can still run the same setup, and yes, skill power, don't bother too much about this. It's with the 30 stacks right now, so it's not that high. Without the stacks, of course. But this is a setup you can use as well. And the third one, of course, is the inventive backpack and 5-piece Tactician. This is also a setup you can use. And the last one, if you play this more as a healer version, then of course you can run inventive and vigorous. So then you're not too squishy because you get an overdose and overheal from your healing skills, and this is pretty nice to have, that you're not too squishy, because yes, as a healer you're just a good healer when you're alive and not when you're dead for your teammates. So these are the 4 settings, and of course you could run, the 5th setting, of course, I almost forgot about. Yeah, the 5th setting you can choose with Barrett's or 5-piece, and instead of the inventive you can run it with a relentless backpack, where you get 5% health back from the damage dealt by your skills. And this one I use by myself if I clear contaminated events in the dark zone. This is really awesome. So you can run it with a pulse turret C commands or sticky bomb and C commands, and you got a health, really a large chunk of health back if you use your skills. and yeah, you don't have to worry too much about your health if you use this setup. So these are the 5 options. And now why it depends a little bit on your playstyle. Let's start with the version I'm using for myself, is this one here with Barretts. And yes, with Barretts, as you probably know, you get 10% increased skill power while no skill is on cooldown, and 5% weapon damage increase or increased damage while 1 skill is on cooldown. And yeah, if you use this with your playstyle, what you have to do is, I show it to you right now. This is the classic setup I use with Sticky Bomb and Seeker Mine. So the thing you have to make sure, let's quickly use a skill to get rid of the 60%. So right now you see the stats. This is not right. Now a skill is on cooldown. Now you see 1 skill is on cooldown. No, don't go in cover. And now no skill is on cooldown, almost 430k skill power. So what you have to do if you run this setup, always release or throw the Seeker Mines first, because as you see now, I still have 430k skill power. That means my Seeker Mines don't count as on cooldown as soon as they not destroyed or on the target. So that's why I always use Seekers first, then Sticky, 1 agent or enemy NPC, and then you have increased skill power for both of your skills. This counts as well if you run with a healing box and another skill, can be Seeker Mines, can be Sticky, can be Turret, because if you use your healing box, let's quickly wait, 430, as you see now, I put down my box, and 430 still. So that means as soon as your box is up, it doesn't count as on cooldown. That works pretty well. So if you run with Inventive, that's a good way to remind too. So this you have to know the playstyle on this one here. Always throw Seekers first or release and then use Sticky to have increased skill power for both of your skills. So the setting with Inventive playstyle. One thing first, the change 1.8, it's really easy to get the stacks. So 1 bullet, 1% increased damage, as you see here, not that hard. But that means you are a little bit more often out of cover. And yes, the NPCs shoot usually back, so you get hit, and you are seldom, or me personally, seldom on full health. And if you're not on full health, then you don't benefit from Inventive, although it's a really huge increase with 15%, but you don't benefit if you're not on full health. So make sure that you adapt your playstyle, stay more in cover if you use Inventive, and let your skills do the work so that you really always benefit from Inventive. So this is the playstyle you have to expect if you play with Inventive. And because, as I said, I usually try to use my gun a little bit more often than earlier, because you can get the stacks pretty easy, that's why I run this setup here. But these are the 5 options you have to run this build. First topic done. So let's go ahead to the second one. And as I said, nothing has changed to my previous video, so thanks a lot for watching if you watch now a different video or another video from my channel, and otherwise of course you're really appreciated and welcome to watch the rest and the stats. Again, I'm running on this build and talk quickly about the stats you can run as well. So let's get right into it. The chest piece, of course every gear piece is round into electronics, I don't have to mention this again. Major attributes is enemy armor damage, skill haste, and minor ammo capacity. And yes, the thing I try to do with this build is to increase the damage as much as possible. And as you probably know, since 1.7 I guess, they increased the scaling to stamina health, and you get more health for each stamina. And this means you are less squishy than before. As you see here, I had I think about 240, 250 toughness before, and now without health on the chest piece I'm almost at 300k. So that means you are a little bit more tanky, when you can say this. And of course if you feel it too squishy, then just change enemy armor damage to health. Works as well. The mods, I talk about this later, as I said before. Let's go ahead to the mask, and on the mask the same here. As you see, major enemy armor damage and not skill power. The reason for this is, as I mentioned before, the soft cap is at 450, and you get the stack so easy. That's why I try to increase the damage with this stat here. And yes, enemy armor damage still works. It increased the damage on the NPC a lot, as you will see at the end. I put a little bit gameplay as I was testing this out with an SMG, so without enemy armor damage, and with an AR with enemy armor damage, and you will see the damage was increased by over 1/4, or about 1/3. So a huge chunk more damage you deal on the NPCs with enemy armor damage. And minor, of course, damage to elites. It works. It is a must-have for PvE. If you run it in PvP, I would recommend to switch this one here and run this setup here, as I have this mask for PvP, skill power and burn resistance. Probably you saw the little footage at the start of this video, the one shot with the sticky bomb. Yeah, it still works, but let's be honest and truth, it just works when the enemy NPC, not the NPC, the enemy agent doesn't have the best build and not that high toughness. Then it works, but it's very seldom that you can one-shot an enemy agent, but it works. Let's go ahead to the knees. The knees, nothing special here as well. Major, skill power, then disrupt, damage to elites and bleed. Yeah, disrupt and bleed are the most annoying ones in my opinion. Burn resistance would be pretty nice as well, but let's be honest, for PvE I just care about skill power and damage to elites and 2 resistances. I don't care too much which ones, but this one are really, for me, god roll. Then the holster, nothing special here, pretty much forward, and 7% skill haste. You don't have that many options here for a skill power build or Tactician's authority build. And the gloves I'm using are pretty god roll in my opinion. Really lucky that I got this one on the last global event with enemy armor damage, skill haste and health on kill. Of course, instead of health on kill, you can re-roll this for a weapon damage, AR or LMG or whatever you would like to use, but to the weapons a little bit later. So the last final piece of gear here is the backpack, and pretty fast forward here as well, skill power and minor. I do have disrupt here. I was using this in skirmish, and yeah, if you get disrupted, that's pretty annoying because you would like to use your skills as frequently or as often as possible. And burn resistance works as well, of course. You don't need too much bullets, so ammo capacity, it's not a must, but of course you can run ammo capacity as well. So this is it already for the gear sets. Then let's go ahead to the mods I'm using. And yes, all over the board my prototype electronics mods are skill power. It doesn't make that much sense if you run 5-piece Tactician to have skill haste, because if you look at the character sheet, the 2 most important stats here is this one here, damage to elites. Let's quickly change to my other weapon. The most important stats, damage to elites 38%, pretty nice, and enemy armor damage 61%, so really quite a lot. And the skills, the one important stat I wanted to show you is this one here. You're already at 45% if you have these stats, and as you probably know, 50% is the cap of skill haste. So that's why skill haste on the mods doesn't make that much sense. Of course, if you want, you could swap 2 out, that you are at the max, or if you run Inventive Barret, you can use 3, then you're at 49% skill haste. But it's not a must in my opinion. And some comments I got recently or all the time is why I don't use damage to elites mods, the purple ones, and yes, I tried out this of course as well, but in my opinion it's not that useful as this setup, because the damage is not really a huge difference, but you lose instead a lot of skill power if you use the purple mods with enemy damage to elites. That's why I personally would not recommend to run this. Of course, if you just run missions with elite NPCs and not just legendary like me, then it could make sense, but in my opinion it's not worth using. That's my opinion. Test it out for yourself. Let me know in the comment section what you prefer to run on the mods. Then on the prototype performance mods, I personally prefer C command damage mods, because my main source of damage are always my C commands, And the other options you have here, of course, the damage type of skills you use the most. Could be turret, could be sticky bomb, whatever you like. And another option you have here, I tested this one out as well, is the sticky bomb radius. Yes, sticky bomb radius, I think 7.5% is the max you can get. That's really nice as well. So you get 30%, 1/3 more range of the sticky bomb. And especially because of one skill, talent you can run, you can increase the damage quite a lot. So this is an option as well. And usually I test this out on the legendary missions, and for me, I prefer the ones I go for sticky bomb damage mod. Sorry, a little bit confused if I can not one-shot the healer. And as soon as I'm able to one-shot the healers there, I'm happy, and I don't go for sticky bomb damage mods. Makes no sense in my opinion. So test this out for yourself. If you can one-shot the healer, then don't run sticky bomb damage mods. If you're in a group of 4, then it could make sense, but in a group of 2 you should be able with this setup to one-shot the healer without these mods. And yes, this is the tips I wanted to share with you about the mods. So the damage mods, the skills you use the most frequent, or you can even run sticky bomb radius. And I will talk about this a little bit later when we're at the abilities, talents and skills. Let's go ahead to the weapons. Weapons are still a really important part of this build, one of the most important in my opinion. As I said before, enemy armor damage works for NPCs, still for NPCs to increase the damage, and that's why you should choose an assault rifle here, because they come with enemy armor damage on it at the beginning. And the talents I'm using, and that's why I use 2 ARs here on this setup. And I thought just about one setting. I will try in the future probably, and because you can get the stacks really fast with a high fire rate weapon, I would like to try once the big alley with the setup, so 1 AR for the increased damage, and the big alley to deal a little bit more damage and to get the stacks more faster than with these 2 weapons above here. And I didn't found the big alley so far with the right talents for me, unfortunately. I grinded a lot, but yeah, RNG was not with me, and the best setup for me, or the best talents with the big alley, would be competent and instead of capable, talented. Yes, with talented you get increased skill power if you kill an NPC, an agent or a skill, and you get quite a big chunk of skill power as an add-on. So this is really a nice thing. But yeah, until I find it, I use this setup here. And the talents I'm using on my ARs is one of the most important ones. For me, it's the main one you should go for, Determined. Determined is so awesome to use, especially with a skill build. Yeah, every kill you get, NPC or whatever, the skill cooldown is reduced by 7.5%, and this even counts for your super. So for your recovery link, for your tech link or survivor link, whatever, for every kill 7.5% reduced skill cooldown. That's awesome. So if you run a legendary, you get your super back in less than a minute, about 40 seconds usually, if you get the kills with your skills. This is such an awesome talent, and that's why it's not that important to spec too much into skill haste as well on this build. So the second most important thing in my opinion is destructive for PV, to increase the damage on the NPCs, and as a healing resource I run predatory. Yes, predatory is a really famous talent I guess in this patch, because you run so high stamina on other builds like Predmark, and this works really awesome as well. You get a chunk of health back over 20 seconds. So this is my healing resource with this build. And the secondary I'm using almost the same setup, but the last talent is Ferocious, to increase the damage, especially if I'm on the last part and fight against bosses, to increase the damage furthermore, and to do one-shot kills, especially in Wargate at the end, to kill the 2 healers right at the beginning, and most often the ancient as well. So this is really my damage gun, and this is my gun I'm using almost the whole mission until I arrive at the boss part, or for the healers this one as well. So this is already it about the weapons, and yes, it's a lower gear score weapon to unlock the talents, the same like before, and the best way to get them is to lower your world tier, I guess to world tier 3, and farm these ARs in the open world or dark zone or wherever, the open world, or the best way in my opinion, buy some blueprints and craft it for yourself until you get one with the right talents. So this is already it about the weapons. Then the last topic, as I mentioned at the beginning, is the skills, abilities and talents. And yeah, my usual setup is this one here, Sticky Bomb and Seeker Mine, and now with the stacks, as you see here, 1.36 million damage with my Sticky and over 100,000 damage with my Seeker Mines. So that's really awesome. If I run solo, of course, always recovery. If you run it in a group, then it has to fit into the group setup. And of course you can run with a turret as well, whatever you feel comfortable with. Then let's go ahead to the talents, and my preferred choice of talents for this build is Strike Back, then Death by Proxy, Chain Reaction and Demolition Expert. And the reason for this and the options you have I discuss right now. Let's start with this one here, Demolition Expert. All increase the damage, or this one here, increase the damage of your explosions. So what I usually try with this setup I'm using, first release the Seekers, and before they hit an NPC, I try to shoot an NPC or kill an NPC with my Sticky. This means I can increase the damage of my Seekers, because yes, I get the kill, a hostile with an explosion through my Sticky, and the explosion damage is increased by 20%, so they increase the damage of my Seekers. And because of my low cooldown, I have an increased damage for my next Sticky usually as well. So this is really awesome. And then Chain Reaction, yeah, damage multiple hostiles with an explosion. That's why I said before, you could even run the Sticky Bomb damage mods, Sticky Bomb range mods on your gear, to have an increased range and to hit more NPCs easier than without. So this is really nice as well. And 20% is quite a lot, especially with the Sticky. So this is really worth a try in my opinion. And then Death by Proxy, probably for some of you a little bit special, but it's not that hard to be honest to kill a deployed hostile skill. And it increases skill power by 20% for 30 seconds, so this is quite a long time, and 20% is quite a lot in my opinion. So if you count 30 stacks, 20%, you have almost a 6-piece Tactician if you are able to do this. And yeah, that's quite a lot, and it happens quite often. So just imagine the Napalm, the last part against Widow, kill a box of Widow with your Sticky or with Seekers as well, and you have increased skill power for the next 30 seconds. Means if you have a look at the cooldowns, Sticky 17.6, Seeker 11.5, so you can use both skills almost 2 times while this period. So this is quite awesome in my opinion, and especially good as well if you run Firecrest in PvP, because in skirmish last stand many people use shock turrets and they have really low skill power, and you can destroy this really easy by yourself with the big alley or an assault rifle, and then you have a lot more skill power with your skills for the next one. And yeah, because I rely on my skills, I have Strike Back, but of course you could run Crit Save as well to increase the damage resistance by 20% for 10 seconds. So these are the best options in my opinion. And the last one, of course, if you run mainly with a turret, you could run tech support as well, but let's be honest, in PvE the turret gets destroyed usually faster than the life expectancy is, so it's not worth using in my opinion. So this is my preferred setup. And if you run in a group, I personally would change Strike Back to Combat Medic to heal your allies as well. So this is it for the abilities, talents and skills, and for the new classified version of Tactician. I really hope this information was useful for you, and if so, please don't forget to give this video a like, leave a thumbs up and a comment down below. I do really appreciate it, and it helps me a lot. And yeah, thanks for watching guys, have fun farming your division tech to optimize your gear, and see you in the next video. Have fun, bye bye, thanks for watching.
She's the one who organized the escape to Manhattan.
They're holding 3 of my people there. If you can get them out before blowing the lid off, I'd be grateful.
All right. Get them out first, but don't jeopardize the mission. We're going in on your heels. The jailbreak ends here.
They're holding 3 of my people there. If you can get them out before blowing the lid off, I'd be grateful.
All right. Get them out first, but don't jeopardize the mission. We're going in on your heels. The jailbreak ends here.
Bullshit. Bullshit that destructive or enemy armor damage does not